In 1847, in Albany County, New York, there was a product that came out on the market called Lee's Save the Baby. And this product lasted for over 100 years before a baby died from ingesting it. Turns out, the ingredients were toxic to babies. And it didn't go unnoticed, but it took 100 years before the product was finally recalled. If you remember in the 60s, 70s, and even in the 80s, on days when you were homesick from school, your mother may have rubbed a salve onto your neck, chest, and on your nose with a very distinct, comforting smell that would penetrate any cold, making you feel like you could breathe better. This was probably Save the Baby, and the main ingredient was a natural oil called camphor, which is okay to be used on the skin. It's used in products like Bengay and muscle rubs and tiger balm, but it's very toxic if ingested, and as little as 2 milligrams can be fatal to an infant if ingested. Now, the original Lee's Save the Baby was sued by the FDA in 1929 for misbranding. The original instructions were to rub this salve on your chest, but if your cold was too bad, to ingest a half a teaspoon of a liquid version that they sold every few hours to clear your sinuses. But the state of New York said it did no such thing. However, the company was able to bring medical professionals to court to say that these ingredients were what they used in their practice, and they were commonly prescribed for colds, flus, and congestion. And so the suit was thrown out. Now you might be thinking, wow, the early 20th century was crazy with their snake oil sales. But in fact, 7,805 cases of topical camphor ingestion in children younger than the age of 6 were reported to poison control centers in the United States in 2001. Now, Save the Baby is no longer available, but you can find a similar product on the shelves called Vicks Vapo Rub, which has a similar formula, and it still does have camphor in it. And it's still toxic and potentially lethal to children who might eat it. Most of the poison control calls come from this product because it's the one that's most likely to be in the reach of children. But any product containing camphor can be lethal to infants. Now, unlike Save the Baby, Vicks Vapo Rub clearly states, do not eat this. And it's mostly safe if it's used in the way it's intended. But could we make something that would be potentially just as soothing, but not at all dangerous if swallowed? And the answer is, of course we can. In this combination, I've made an infused rosemary oil and turned it into a balm by adding beeswax. And just a moment ago, you saw me blend in a few grams of CBD isolate powder, a crystallized oil. And this is going to contribute to the soothing effect of this balm. And before we go any further, I'll just point out, this is not a product for children, and that has nothing to do with toxicity. CBD is not toxic. And if you had your choice, provided you had a baby who puts everything in their mouth, of getting their hands on this over a jar of camphor or a tube of tiger balm or Bengay, you would want this 100 times out of 100. This will not hurt children. However, we do not make CBD products for children because at this time, there's no information about its safety for children. It hasn't really been out long enough for there to be anything documented. And until someone professionally puts that information together, there's no using this ingredient on children. But if any of my grandchildren were to put this in their mouth, then I will not feel compelled to call poison control. However, if they ate a tub of Vicks Vapo Rub, I am also probably not going to call poison control because I'm going to go straight to the ER. So there's the difference between those two. Now in this balm, I'm going to blend in 3 essential oils: balsam, peppermint, and rosemary. And the rosemary and the CBD ingredients are for relaxation, while the balsam and the peppermint will help with a stuffy nose. Keep in mind, this balm could easily be modified for children by omitting the CBD. And all of the ingredients that we're using are under the safe usage rate for essential oils. Now, this is not going to be as strong as the over-the-counter Vapo Rub in its scent because the camphor is the dominating smell in those products. But this is a smooth decongestant salve, and it's safe to use, and it's completely non-toxic. This is also not a dupe of the traditional Save the Baby. You would need camphor, menthol, balsam, and rosemary, but it is a reflection using the safer ingredients with a little bit of a minty pick-me-up. All you need to do is melt it all, Pour it and let it cure overnight. And then you have yourself a nice little home remedy for a stuffy nose and a heavy chest that will help you rest. Now don't forget to subscribe so you can see the next project.